Hey everybody, it's Kurt Schlichter. I am back again here on Rebel Media with another edition of Take That with Kurt Schlichter. Check it out. Got the bowling shirt. Why do I have a bowling shirt on today? Why did I choose that particular fashion option? Well, it's appropriate. Like everything I do, it's completely calculated. It's planned and precise and exact. Why? Why a bowling shirt? Because I'm here to celebrate normal Americans. To celebrate that, a little later, we're going to have my friend and fellow Pennsylvania homie, Salena Zito. She's got a book that's killing it called The Great Revolt. The president tweeted about it. I should be so lucky when my book, The Militant Normals, think of it as The Great Revolt with a lot more swears when that drops in October. But Salena's is out now. It's huge, and she's agreed to come talk to me. Because I have incriminating evidence. So that'll happen. But first, let's talk about the week that's been so far. Oh my gosh. This may be the greatest week ever. Let's start with the Iran deal. Oh wait, there isn't one. Gone, destroyed, blown away, in a little mushroom cloud, a little puff of smoke. Because Donald Trump has taken a startling new direction in American foreign policy, one that surprised and scandalized the elite. He's actually kept his promise. You see, when he was running for election, he promised to get rid of the Iran deal. And now that he's president, he's going to get rid of the Iran deal. Mind blown. Whoa. We finally have a Republican who does what he promises instead of going to Washington and growing in office. And all the usual suspects are outraged. You got failed novelist, what's his name, Rhodes, Ben Rhodes. You got John Kerry, that horse-looking French weirdo. Who else? You got Hillary Clinton has put down the vodka for a second to complain about it. It's beautiful. And Obama, his legacy, well, his legacy is a smoking ruin with tumbleweeds and people weeping and mourning and lamentations of the women and such, because there's nothing left. His failed presidency is gone with the wind. So that's been fun. And what else has gone on? Oh yeah, Eric Schneiderman. Yeah, that career kind of took a interesting new direction. There's lots of exploding metaphors going on with Democrats lately, aren't there? He really screwed up by being a freak and a pervert. You see, Eric Schneiderman was the Attorney General of New York. He's supposed to be a law enforcement officer. He's supposed to be honest and direct and uncorruptible, and justice is blind. Well, no, justice is stupid, at least in New York. Because he was terrible. He was a liberal activist using the law to declare war on conservatives. Oh, and women. You see, he didn't just like women. He liked to get women and beat them up. And when I say beat them up, I don't mean just kind of be mean to them. I mean like physically slap them around. If you read the story in The New Yorker, which Ronan Farrow dropped a few days ago, you start out kind of laughing because he's a terrible person. You like to see bad things happen to terrible people. And then you stop laughing about 4 or 5 lines into it, because what he's done is so ugly and so gross that you're just shaking your head. He would get women and just start hitting them. And he dug it. It's like 50 Shades of Blue State, right? Why are all these guys such weirdos? You got Teddy Kennedy. He's got confirmed kills. He's the pro. But you got Schneiderman. He's trying. Bill Clinton put some ice on that. What is it with liberal men, Democrat heroes, beating up on women? I think it's sick. I think it's disgusting. But what's even more disgusting is the women who were beaten up, they would go to their liberal friends and say, hey, this liberal hero is beating the hell out of me. He'll get staggeringly drunk. Because this is a guy, he'd do 2 bottles of wine, right, and then a 5th of brown liquor. First of all, mixing your liquors, bad move, but that's a lot of booze. So this guy'd be, if he was a rapper, he'd be named MC Hammered all the time, and then, completely slosh, and then he'd start beating them and choking them. And it's just, you're reading this, just go, what was the thought process that led this guy to think this was okay? Anyway, the women would go to their fellow liberal women and say, it's beating the hell out of me. And the liberal women would say, you can't say anything. Gotta be silent. Because he's much too important to the liberal cause, for the truth to come out. Women, you are collateral damage in the journey to the progressive utopia. Put you off the side of the road in a ditch, you don't matter, because, down the road, everything's going to be perfect. Run by the kind of people who beat the hell out of women and then, tell the women who are beaten up to be silent about it. That's the plan. That's the utopia for them. So we've seen that. So we got the Iran deal gone. We got Schneiderman gone. What else do we have? Elections. Wow. We had primary elections in states like Ohio and Indiana and in West Virginia. Well, the guy in Ohio, Jim Renacci, seemed to do pretty well. He'll run against Sherrod Brown. He has a decent chance of winning. And the guy in Indiana is a guy named Mike Braun, and he's kind of an outsider Trump guy. And he has a good chance of beating Joe Donnelly, because Joe Donnelly only got in because whatever the hell the name of the dumb Republican in there. Yeah, here's an idea. When you're running for something as a Republican and someone asks you your opinion of rape, here's what you say: I'm against it. Then you shut up. All right, I don't understand these guys. Well, I have some theories about it. Let me get out the chalkboard. Women like that. Oh, shut up. Okay, it's easy. Rape is bad. Just go with that. Go with the rape is bad. Anyway, the guy who decided to elaborate on his theories about rape, or women's biology, or whatever it was, he was kind of like Todd Aiken Jr., but he's just a numbskull. This Joe Donnelly, a Democrat, beats him. And of course, he's a moderate Democrat. He's a blue state independent Democrat who goes in and does exactly what Schumer says. So he may lose because Mike Braun may beat him. And that's great. But West Virginia was amazing. Because there was Patrick Morrissey and something Jenkins, and they were kind of like normal candidates, and they were fighting. And then there was Don Blankenship. Don, who, even though Tuesday night didn't quite go his way, at least he got off of probation. At least his parole technically, because he got, thrown in jail for conspiracy to ignore mining regulations, which resulted in the deaths of 29 guys. So let's just say he was kind of a wounded candidate, but not satisfied with being convicted of conspiracy to ignore regulations that killed 29 people. Don Blankenship, who was rich and looked like the guy who just sold you life insurance, decided to make what may be the greatest campaign commercial of all time. So he gets out there, and it looks like, check out my high production values, right? 1/10 this good. He's out there like in front of it looks like a trailer, and he's like this. And he's like, I am here to fight Mitch McConnell. He is getting lots of money from China people. I love it, the China people, because get it? Mitch McConnell's wife is of Chinese origin, Elaine Chao. He was getting money from Chinese people, or China people, not Chinese, China people. It's like David Bowie, little China girl. He's not even there. He's like China people. And then he goes, I will go to Washington. I will drain the swamp and fight Cocaine Mitch. What? What? Cocaine Mitch? What? Well, Mitch got all say hello to my little friend because he Blankenship comes in last. And the president was like, I'm not doing Roy Moore 2, The Revenge, right? We're not doing that. So he tweets out, vote for anybody but Blankenship because the guy's insane. But Cocaine Mitch may be the greatest nickname I've ever heard. Even Trump's got to be going, damn, beats Lion Ted. It beats Low Energy. I'm not sure it beats Low Energy, right? It's competitive. But Cocaine Mitch is the greatest nickname I ever heard. And, McConnell's like this. Look, nobody gets more frustrated with Mitch McConnell than me. But you got to hand it to this guy. Homie is a knife fighter. He will get you. And he got Blankenship. He gets Trump to tweet against him. He throws money in. At the end, Blankenship goes down in flames, right? He just comes in third. He just gets destroyed. Cocaine Mitch is like this. The vengeance of the turtle. Dude looks like a turtle. I don't know what it is. He just, you look at Mitch McConnell and you're like, turtle. Cocaine Mitch, though, it's just glorious. So we've had a great week. We've had the Iran deal going down in flames. We've had Eric Schneiderman being revealed as the inhuman monster that he is. And Don Blankenship loses, but leaves us with the treasured memory that is Cocaine Mitch. So this has been a great week for Republicans. Oh yeah, gosh, I almost forgot. How could I forget? Mueller, that basset hound looking freak. He got slammed, right? You know, all for show, right? He decides, well, there are no collusion evidence. I'm just going to indict all these Russian individuals and companies, and they'll never appear. They're all in Russia. I'm going to indict them and see I've done something about collusion. So he indicts all these guys, right? And he thinks they're never going to, I'm never going to see them. Don't have to put up. Let's go on, you know, let's go look at, you know, maybe Trump dated a penthouse pet or whatever they are, playmate. I don't know. One of them appears. One of them hires Reed Smith, who's just a real law firm. It's a real good law firm. Hires them and says, you know, put in a criminal appearance. And a corporation appears through its attorneys. It says, hi, we are appearing and we're, you know, not going to dispute jurisdiction and let's fight about this. And Mueller's like, wait, what? And they appear and they say, okay, we are here. Now we are going to demand discovery. We demand, Mueller, all your evidence against us. Because being America, an accused has a right to all the evidence against us. But see, Mueller's got a problem. He doesn't have any evidence because this is all baloney. It's all a PR game. It's all a stunt. It's all a scam. So Mueller on Friday, you know, they're supposed to be arraigned on Monday. That's when they first make their appearance and they plead not guilty. Mueller, on Friday, Mueller's like, Judge, we'd like to put this off because we don't really think they've appeared. And the judge is like, what now? He said, what? And that's craziness. So the judge goes, nah, they've appeared. They're pleading not guilty. And they're not waiving their right to a speedy trial. Put up or shut up. Mark my words, this particular defendant, one of the companies, is going to be dismissed because Mueller ain't got nothing. And then it gets even worse. Then, of course, last week he had Judge Ellis in the Manafort case going, why in a Russian collusion investigation are you looking at this guy's tax stuff from 2005? It seems to me like you're trying to pressure him to, you know, testify against the president. And of course, what happens if he doesn't have anything truthful to testify to? Well, gosh, he sure has a great incentive to make something up because Mueller wants to send him away essentially for the rest of his life. That's the scam. You know, Mueller's not going to come out and go, I want you to perjure yourself and invent stuff. He's just going to say, I'm going to throw you to life in prison unless you come up with something. Well, I don't have anything. He didn't do anything wrong. Then I guess you go to prison for life. Huh, what are my options? See, the thing I love is the president maintains the power to pardon, and he needs to pardon Flynn, probably needs to pardon at least one or two of these other guys, and frankly, it looks like maybe he should pardon Manafort and Cohen too, because it's all lie, it's all crap, it's all a scam designed to manufacture evidence against him. And now we got this federal judge who's saying it on the record. And of course, everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is great. So it's been a really good week. Oh, wait, there's more. There's more. North Korea. It's happening, folks, North Korea. North Korea, and I want to talk about this with Salena Zito, is not just, you know, for the foreign policy guys. It's for people like you. It's for people like me. It's for our families. Because if Donald Trump pulls this off, if Donald Trump wins a peace in Korea, that means tens of thousands of American families aren't going to be burying their sons and daughters. The last Korean War killed 54,000 Americans. The next war, well, there's only 28,000 Americans over there, but it'd be reinforced. The next war would kill tens of thousands of Americans, hundreds of thousands of South Koreans, maybe millions of North Koreans. And Donald Trump has a chance to make that not happen. That's something that affects every one of us. Doesn't affect a lot of the types who are saying, "Ooh, you can't let Trump win this thing," because their kids aren't in the Army. Your kids are in the Army. My kids would be in the Army, except they're like small. But I served with a lot of guys in the Army, and I'm glad that there is a chance, and believe me, I do not trust Kim Jong, whatever the hell his name is, as far as I can throw him. And he's huge, so I can't throw him very far. But the fact is that this may save tens of thousands, maybe even 1 million lives, if it comes through. And these people are willing to throw it away for short-term political advantage to get an edge over Trump. I think it's disgusting. So it's been a great week for America. Terrible week for Democrats. But then I repeat myself. Well, I'm here with one of my favorite people in the universe. This is Salena Zito. We are homies, aren't we, homies?
Yep, we are. We're from Pennsylvania, right? Western Pennsylvania roots. I think yours comes from Donora and Carlisle, correct?
Yeah, we had Donora and Chambersburg.
Chambersburg, wow.
Yeah, it's always fun to be told I'm like the son of the South when the Southerners burned down my hometown.
Yeah, I was going to say, like the Southerners, the Confederates didn't really treat your the land you come from with much respect, or the people, or the houses.
No, none of the above. In fact, one of my earliest memories is going out to Gettysburg with my grandparents, who lived all their lives in Chambersburg, had a picture of Abraham Lincoln on the wall. And if you go onto Letterkenny Army Base, which is the big base out town, that's where the Schlichter family farm is, and the Schlichter grave is still there, graves. And my great-great-grandfather Jacob has a Grand Army of the Republic badge on his grave. Hasn't been stolen. It's bronze or brass.
That is incredible. I mean, that's sort of what when we talk about populism, people that don't understand it immediately go to, oh, you're, a son of the South, or you're a racist. And they don't understand that it has nothing to do with that, and a lot of times it doesn't have to do with a lot with ideology, and it doesn't have to do with a person, but it has to do with them. And I think that, and that's one of the things that we talk about in the Great Revolt, it's not nationalism. They're confusing it. It's localism. It's about being proud of where you're from and wanting it to have the same opportunities and dignity that the people in the super zip codes live in.
Exactly. Now, in the Great Revolt, which you were nice enough to send me a copy, and it took me away from reading the proofs of my book along similar lines called Militant Normals. It was a pleasure. Mine is similar to yours in a lot of ways, but more swearing.
If you ever looked at my pinned tweet, I don't swear.
Not at all.
But mainly because I always whatever I say, I have to think about my parents on one shoulder and my kids and my grandkids on the other shoulder. So that's me.
Well, what's interesting about you, Salena, is you were unique in 2016. You went out and talked to people that no one else wanted to talk to.
So one of the things about 2016, like you're right, I did go out to talk to people that people didn't want to talk to because they didn't want to listen to what they had to say. And I'm talking about both political parties.
I think you're absolutely right.
Political parties did not want to hear them. They didn't, for whatever reason they decided, they believed that what they were feeling and experiencing outside the super zip codes in this country that control the media, that control the elections, that not the election, but that control politics and control Hollywood and the NFL, they didn't want to have anything to do with opinions that are outside of theirs. So they stop the conversation immediately and say they're racist, they're bigots, they're nationalists. And I am still astounded today that we're in the middle of a movement and we're still not hearing what it has to say. And that's why the Great Revolt is so important. Not only are these people impacting the ballot box, but they're impacting culture. They're impacting how we spend our money, what we watch on television, how we enjoy our sports. Did you see how much college football leapt up in the ratings and how much the NFL dropped, that has to do with this coalition, and it is incredibly enduring, and they still don't want to understand that. So they call it racist or nationalism, whatever, or nostalgic, whatever, the word they can throw out so they can put the brakes on any conversation. And that's why I think that it's important for everyone to read the book so that they either understand it if they don't, or they see themselves in it and say, you know what, that's me. That's how I felt.
Well, as a resident of one of those super zip codes here on the beach in Los Angeles, let me take my perspective. I was not seeing those folks. Look, I'm a conservative ideologue. I read National Review. I mean, 30 years of this. I was in the trenches. All the conservative, checklist was stuff
Right.
I believed in. I still believe in it. But I wasn't thinking about the guys who live, 30 miles to the east of me.
Yeah.
As a hardcore conservative Republican, I just wasn't thinking of them. I didn't listen. I was a big Trump opponent early on.
Yep.
I was a Ted Cruz supporter, and then Ted lost, and it's either Trump or that monster. I'll go for Trump. And then this guy did some revolutionary, did what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
No one's done that.
That's pretty astounding. I mean, it's really astounding. Here's the thing: this movement he never caused it. He's the result of it.
Yes.
And that's what makes it enduring. It's bigger than him.
They don't want it to be, though. They want it to be all about Trump. And if they can take him out with, collusion, Russians, treason, whatever, they think that's the easy answer. In fact, I think some people will buy your book thinking that's an easy answer. They want to read the book. Now I understand them. Now I don't have to do anything. Reading your book is only the first step. You got to get to the last chapter where you see the way ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're right. I don't think they want to learn from it. I think they want to get the idea, oh, now I understand them. I'm going to do exactly the same things, treat them with the exact same level of condescension and disrespect. But now I understand them. I don't know if that'll work for them.
Well, that's because they think it's all about Trump. They don't understand it's all about the people.
Yes.
And it's all about the people that formed this coalition. And sometimes coalitions do things that we don't like. But there are probably things within this coalition that, one of the different archetypes that'll say, I don't like that, but I like the rest of it. I mean, that's just sort of the way a coalition works. And also all coalitions break apart eventually. But this one has the potential and the potency to be enduring because neither party is willing to bring it in. Establishment Republicans are like, oh, no, I can't do this.
Yeah. I never.
Yeah. And the Democratic establishment, like, oh, these people are A, B, C, D, and E. Well, if you keep making fun of them and you keep labeling them inaccurately, you are never going to get them as part of your coalition, and their coalition then grows bigger. It's conservative populist, but there are some aspects in it that are more like a New Deal coalition. And that's where you see the end of Ryanism. And I love Paul Ryan. So it's not like the end of Ryanism, that's because he needs to go. It's just the end of that kind of fiscal conservative, like that's the only litmus test you can pass. It's part of the coalition, but it's not the heart of the coalition.
I think the Paul Ryan side, which I sympathize with in a lot of ways, had a kind of wonky failure to connect with the kind of people you talk to. Look, reading through the book, what struck me is these are not Leave It to Beaver people necessarily.
Right.
What you call the King Cyrus conservatives, the more religious ones, I think in some ways are. But you've got people with like 4 wives.
Oh yeah, like the rough rebounders or the Peroistas.
These are guys who've lived. Here's another thing.
Yeah, These are people that have lived. The rough rebounders, out of all of the archetypes, there's 7 different archetypes in the Great Revolt. Of all the archetypes, and they're the ones that make up this coalition. Of all of them, they're the ones that were most likely to have voted for Obama twice.
Yep.
And they liked him personally, but they did not benefit, nor did their communities benefit from his policies. So they were, and they, and they've had tragedies in their life, whether it's economic tragedy, personal tragedy, illness, whatever it may be. And they look at him and they say, oh, well, this guy has won and failed and won and failed. I kind of get him. And when he says something that's like with a little bit of hyperbole, they think, I probably would have said that too, and so, in all those 7 archetypes that, these aren't just anecdotal. If you look in the back of the book, there's extensive polling that backs up absolutely everything that we found. And those were probably the 2 most stressful weeks of my life for waiting for that. I mean, it was an extensive poll. And by the way, polls are very it was the most stressful time, because I didn't, while my gut told me this is what's happening, I wanted to make sure I had the data to tell me, to reaffirm it and to confirm it.
Interesting. The and you did, and it's really the anecdotes that struck me. You've got the data, but it's the anecdote. The people, Ashtabula County, guys up near Wilkes-Barre, not too far from where my family is from.
Yep.
And their life experiences, which are very different from mine. I'm a suburban guy, and I went to a pretty good college, and I did military. That is one common thing. I noticed a lot of these people have served their country in uniform, and I don't think that's a common experience. I know it's not a common experience.
Yeah, less than
among the elites.
0.5% of the people in this country serve in the U.S. military.
But you go into one of these towns, of course, you walk into a VFW, and that's the swing and joint.
Yeah.
That's where the people are, and that's where they're mingling. The VFW in Redondo Beach is pretty desolate.
Yeah. There are members of the suburbs in this country that did support him. Yep. There were the shy suburban women.
Yep.
There were the girl gunpowder, right? These are one of my favorite.
I'm married to one. You know what? You know my wife.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of my favorite sort of archetypes, right? Because she's suburban. They're suburban. They have children. They're married. Their marriages are intact.
Yep.
And they believe, and they're also identify themselves as feminists. And nothing is more empowering to them than the ability to protect themselves by themselves. They're in charge of their own lives, and they voted on that issue. Like the Second Amendment was prevalent among all the archetypes, whether they had a gun or not. As being what drew them to Donald Trump.
I think there's kind of there are certain qualities to real Americans. And when I say real Americans, I mean ones who don't identify with a transnational elite. I mean, right. I think the people, if you had gone to those people into the bars and diners and VFWs where you talked to them and said, show of hands, who here considers himself a citizen of the world, they probably would have looked at you like you were nuts.
Yeah, that's where the localism comes in.
Yeah, I'm an American, and I'm from Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, they're very parochial.
Well, but they're American too, and they took 9/11 personally, even if they'd never been to New York City.
Yeah.
Because
that was like hitting their backyard.
Yeah, and you don't do that. I think one of the problems is a lot of our elite have never been in fistfights.
Right.
And you didn't talk to, I bet you every single one of those guys has been in a bar fight. Yeah. Once or twice in his life.
Some kind of scuffle.
Yeah.
In their life.
Somebody got in their face and they threw down. There is a undercurrent, I won't call it hostility, but I'll call it militance to Americans. You don't
Yeah.
you don't tell Americans what to do. And I think what I got the sense from your book and your discussions with these people is they're sick of people from far away trying to tell them who they are, how they should live, and giving them grief.
Yeah, they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. So aspiration is a
Yeah.
very common thread among these voters. People wrongly um, decided that "Make America Great Again" was a nationalist phrase and or a negative or bitter phrase. It's a very aspirational phrase. People,
Yes.
Americans inherently want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They want to feel connected with each other,
Yes.
and that is not bitter, and that is not anger, and that "Make America Great Again" was completely misunderstood if you lived in the super zip codes.
Well, another of the things that struck me, and a lot of things struck me about the book. I was constantly struck. I was in a state of perpetual struckness. Was the first chapter with Bonnie, the baker, who had a career, and she starts out as a cook, right,
Yeah,
at the police
yeah,
station, works her
yeah,
way up to a deputy,
yeah.
and then
Doesn't
she retires and she starts baking.
yeah.
She has a small business in a tough area where it had an economic downturn. And I'm thinking, what is the kind of optimism
Right.
that leads you to do that? These are, you get this impression that these are these, opioid addicted,
Yeah,
burnt out, bitter
yeah,
losers, sitting there bitterly, drinking their
yeah,
bourbon,
yeah.
and they do like their alcohol. I know.
Well,
Too. So
don't
well,
all.
as we found out with Mr. Schneiderman, so do the elites. Um,
uh,
but I don't see the guys you talk to slapping around their dates. And I don't see the women that you talk to not putting a bullet through their forehead if they tried
yeah,
that
exactly.
nonsense.
Yeah,
Um, but there's an optimism there to Americans that things can get better, and they will, even though they've taken some hits. They've taken
yeah.
some
I mean,
hard
if you look
hits.
at, and I'm going to give a little bit away of the book. I hope everybody gets The Great Revolt.
You
But in
must
the
give it.
end, if you take a look at the end, it shows that 84% of the not only the people that we interviewed, but in the categories that they fall into, the Trump supporters, 84% believe that things will get better. They are optimistic about the future, not only for their community, but for themselves and for the country. That's
I
that's not angry. 84%.
Well,
That's
look,
a lot of people.
I think there's resentment and anger because I think they've been treated badly, but
Right.
there's also optimism. They didn't vote for Donald Trump
Because
just
they
to
were fat.
stick it in a
Yeah.
finger, poke these guys in the eye, though it's fun to poke them in the eye.
Yeah.
They did it because they think Donald Trump was their hope to make things better. I mean, you look at a guy like Mitt Romney,
Yeah.
and he looks like the guy who comes by your plant and says, fire 20% of the workers
Yeah.
to increase
He's a nice
efficiency.
guy, absolutely
But that's
wonderful,
who he
a
comes
gentleman.
across as.
But you don't get the impression, like you just said, you don't get the impression he has your back. You actually get the impression that he's probably going to cost you and or the guy that works beside you on the line their job.
Well, exactly. And I don't think we as Republicans, because I'm glad the Democrats are writing off this huge chunk of America. Tactically, it's a huge help to me
It's
and to gain what I want.
astounding.
But for
It's
Republicans,
absolutely astounding.
it is astounding. But I think they're forced to by their own ideology. They have to have a villain, and they've made normal Americans their villain. I think that's a pathology, and I think it's a bad idea. But I'm more concerned with the Republicans, and I still see, the Jeff Flakes and the Ben Sasses who want to come out and dictate, oh, we're better than that, to a guy who just came off working on the farm for 9 hours and doesn't need some dude in a suit telling him what's what and telling him he shouldn't be angry when damn it, he has a right to be.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the beginning, neither establishment, not all, but there's some smart Democrats out there that get it, and there's
Tim
some
Ryan,
smart. Yeah, Tim Ryan totally gets it.
Joe
Totally
Biden,
get
I
it. He
think
lives
gets it
in
a little bit.
Youngstown,
Yeah,
huh?
Joe
He
Biden, I think,
gets it.
gets it a little
Yeah,
in his
yeah,
own
absolutely.
Biden-y way.
You know who else used to get it?
Who?
Was Howard Dean. This is a guy who was
Huh.
backed by the NRA. This is a guy did a 50-state program for the Democratic Party.
Interesting.
He believed in expanding the universe and reaching out to, I mean, he did these incredible farm ads in 2006 in all these rural communities. That's why they won those swing seats. And he said, tired of a politician saying this or tired of a politician saying that? Don't you feel that you don't have a voice? Vote for this guy. I mean, how people, Democrats won't give him the credit that he's due because he was successful with moderate Republican Democrats, and Republicans don't give him the credit. Well, actually, Reince Priebus used to say, "Look, I'm following the Howard Dean movement, the Howard Dean playbook, because he believed in going to all 50 states, and that's what Priebus did as well."
Wow. Hey, Salena, I wish we had more time. We could go on all day, and we haven't even touched on Western Pennsylvania and all that other stuff we have in common. Gosh, I want to, first of all, congratulations on the great success. How did it feel? Here's something everybody wants to know. How did you find out that the president had tweeted that you should read, everybody should read The Great Revolt? How did you find out about it? How'd you feel?
Well, it was really fascinating. So I had done Fox and Friends in the morning. Even though that I worked for CNN, they allowed me to have 2 hits on Fox. And nice. I left there and went over to CNN, and he did it while I was live on television on Poppy Harlow. And we just started talking, and she said, "Salena, the president just tweeted about you." And I didn't know what it was going to be about. And I'm like, "And what did he say?" and then she, and then she read it, and then she said, "What do you think?" And I don't even think I answered her, because I think at that moment, like, my whole brain went to Jello. And honestly, I mean, it's the president of the United States. Of course you're honored if the president of the United States says, this book tells about your lives. He didn't say this book is about me, because it's not about him. He said, "Hey, you guys, this book is about you." And, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, look, I've been watching it on Amazon. The highest I've ever gotten is 238. You were at 46 last time I checked. I bet you're even lower. I couldn't be happier, because you're one of the good ones. You're one of the nice ones. I am glad you're a friend. A fellow Pennsylvania homie. Thanks so much for taking time for my little mini podcast here. Hey, how do you like my bowling shirt? Get in touch with the.
I felt like I was at home. Because I bowl. I probably have a shirt that looks just like that somewhere.
Well, I promise you, I'm not wearing it ironically.
At my Elks, I am an elk. I'm a member of the Brotherhood of the Elks.
If we had more people in the media who were members of bowling leagues or the Elks or the Rotary or Kiwanis, maybe Donald Trump wouldn't have been such a big surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
Salena, what a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's move on to something a little different. I want to do something that I have not done before, because I've only done like 3 or 4 of these. I would like to review a movie. I'd like to review Avengers: Infinity War. Now, there will be spoilers, but I've got to warn you, if you haven't seen it, I may reveal things. Now, I have not seen the movie. I've seen all the other movies because I have little kids. But I think I can still talk about the conservative basis of the Marvel Universe and a little about what happens in Infinity Wars in a way that won't be a complete waste of your time. We'll see. In any case, again, if you're worried about spoilers, let me get them right out of the way. Superman dies, Spock dies, Han Solo dies, and Luke, your father is Captain Kirk. So all those things are going to happen in Infinity Wars. Now, Infinity Wars involves a guy from space who's a liberal, and he comes and he says, essentially, global warming, and you use too many resources, and basically for the good of the whole, we have to kill pretty much half of everybody, just because I think it's a good idea and it kind of makes me feel good. Certain people object, most of them wearing tights, and a lot of them with superpowers, and there's lots of punching. Well, I think, first of all, the basis of the Marvel Universe is important. Now, a lot of these guys are liberals. You know, Chris Pine or Chris Evans, one of the Chris's, he's like Captain USA, and he has a shield and something, and he's a liberal in real life, and he'll be like tweeting things like, you know, citizens shouldn't be able to choose what guns they have. People like me should choose. I'm a movie star. And, you know, it's stupid. And the guy who plays the Hulk, I think his name is Mark Ruffalo, and he's just a straight up Bernie commie. And, you know, I mean, but the characters really have a conservative basis. And let's look at that. First of all, they fight evil. Liberals don't. Liberals embrace evil. And the last week has taught you anything. Look at the giant suck-uppery to the Iranians. I mean, it's not just, well, you know, I believe Donald Trump has made an error in repudiating this non-treaty, because it ain't a treaty, this arrangement that Obama made with the Iranians, because it's to America's advantage for the following reasons. They don't make that argument. Instead, they're like, America breaks its word as always, America's terrible, and all the foreigners hate it. And we should do what foreigners say. They're just the worst. They fight evil. Liberals tend to embrace it. So you got people who are liberal playing people who have a conservative basis. Now, if you saw Black Panther, and I saw Black Panther, and I actually liked Black Panther. First of all, it was an entertaining movie. Second of all, it had a great couple of villains. It had that like South African guy who was crazy, and he was a good villain. It had, what was his name? Killmonger, which, you know, I wish could be my name, Killmonger, and he was a great villain. He was a really good villain. Movies made by a villain. And, you know, the hero was, I don't remember his name. He was the king of something. But he was like, you know, a conservative king. He's like, you know, we got to listen to people and integrate various views. And, you know, I'm not going to be a dictator. I'm not going to tell people what to do. Here's an evil guy. Let's stop him. That's kind of a conservative guy. There's a lot of conservative underpinnings to the whole Marvel universe. And it goes on in Infinity Wars too. And in Infinity Wars, right, you have this guy, and his name's, I think, Thermos. And he comes from space, and he looks like Mount Rushmore. And he wants to get powers, and he's the guy who wants to kill half of people because of the environment for some reason. And they fight him. And it's important that they fight, because if you actually believe in something, if something's important, if freedom's important to defend, if liberty's important to defend, it's important to be able to fight. These aren't pacifist movies. Nobody sits around going, you know, it's probably wrong to space punch this guy. It's probably wrong to use my laser eye machine thing or my magic spells or whatever I've got, because they all have different powers, to fight these guys. They don't do that. They're like, these are bad guys and they got to be stopped. And we're going to stop them. We're going to man up and stop them. Even the women are going to man up. And they use guns, lots of guns, and they're super cool. You know, you got the Black Widow chick, and she's got Glocks, and I'm a big fan of Austrian firearms. You've got, there's a guy named Beaver or Bucky or something like that. He's got a machine gun, and everybody's got guns. And it's really cool because guns are an important part of every citizen's toolkit for protecting freedom. So these movies really provide a conservative basis. They identify evil, which liberals don't really believe. They're not evil, we just don't understand them. You're evil because you're, you know, American. They agree that we should fight evil vigorously. You and I can do it at the ballot box. If necessary, we can use it with our privately owned firearms. Thank you, founders, for the Second Amendment. And if you happen to be a superhero, you can use it with your ability to freeze things or cause hurricanes or super punching, which is a superhero thing. I'm not good at this superhero stuff. And I get a lot of grief because apparently there's more than one superhero universe. And I keep asking things like, so is Batman going to fight Spider-Man? And I get a lot of grief about that because apparently it's wrong in some way, but I don't know. I like Batman. He's, you know, he dresses like a bat. Gotta admit, that's pretty cool. So there is a conservative basis, a conservative underpinning to Infinity Wars. And apparently at the end of Infinity Wars, like I said, you know, Mr. Spock dies, and it's sad. There's sacrifice because freedom and liberty aren't easy. They're not. If freedom and liberty were easy, everybody would have freedom and liberty. And then we really wouldn't need a military. We wouldn't need to defend ourselves because everyone would be pretty much agreed we're going to live in freedom and dignity. But that's not the way the world is. And the Marvel superhero universe recognizes that, even if its mindless actors babble liberal cliches. So I guess what I'm saying is go out and see Infinity Wars. It's, as I understand, it's about 5.5 hours long. I was at home, the whole family went, but I stayed home to write Wildfire, which is the third of my conservative shoot-'em-up books about the America broken apart. And you should go buy the first two, which are People's Republic, put that up there, and Indian Country, and the technical guys can put the picture there. You should go buy those. And Wildfire's going to kick butt, but that's why I didn't go see the movie. But maybe I should, because it sounds like a real conservative movie. It's about the need to fight for freedom and the need to sacrifice for it, and the need to use your superpowers. And while we individually don't have superpower, the United States is a superpower, and it's a force for good, and it's what's going to keep the world free, not the Avengers or the Defenders or the Magnificent Eight or Seven or whatever they're called. Anyway, that's my movie review of Infinity Wars. I hope you liked it. Maybe I'll do more in the future. I need you guys to comment. You can comment on anything I say at Kurt Schlichter on Twitter. I do read my tweets. I do interact with people. So get on there and say, Kurt, you were brilliant. Loved everything about it. Don't ever review a movie again. Stop talking. Your bowling shirt also, great tribute to normal working Americans.